Hey party people, I'm Captain Zeus and welcome back to BP Fun. In today's video, I am doing, a review for episode 4 of the Acolyte series from Star Wars. I know last review episode, I was debating on if I wanted to do episode 4, but I feel like this one might be a little bit more review worthy. There is spoilers ahead, so spoiler warning if you guys haven't seen the episode, and be sure to go check out the other review videos that we have on episodes 1, 2, and 3. Like and subscribe for more nerdy content just like this, and click the bell to be notified when we post another review video. Now, to start things off, I will say that this episode was pretty boring. I'm not gonna lie, I just wasn't as interested. Maybe it just had to do with how episode 3 affected me, but this episode was really boring up until probably the last 5 minutes of the episode. That's when things started to get really interesting, because the last 5 minutes is when Soul reveals that something else might have happened at the witch's place that might have caused, the Jedi to regret their decisions going there. You learn about the Sith's appearance. You see the resolution change from Mai come into effect here. So it's very interesting at the last 5 minutes. However, leading up to that point really isn't much. Mai seemingly has no turmoil whatsoever, right? Between revenge and between reuniting with her sister. Normally in situations like this, you'll see them struggling for a while about, should I turn myself in? Or should I just enact the revenge on the people that hurt me and the people closest to me? There was none of that. Like, it seemed like when she asked, I can't remember the Asian dude's name, I feel so bad, he's like one of my favorite characters, but when she asked him, the guide, like about Osha, I think that was the turmoil. Like, that was it, which is crazy because there was like nothing else afterwards. Then she just switches up on him and decides to just go and turn herself in, which threw me off. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? Why? But I mean, whatever. At the same time, it's not like she's a main antagonist anyway. She's just a tool for the Sith. Now, and as the title suggests, we already know who the Sith is. We already know who this guy is. And it's someone that I suspected for a little bit, but wasn't really sure until this episode. It's that Asian dude. It's the guide. He is the Sith. And the reason why I say this was kind of like the way he avoided talking about his relationship with the Master, and the way he kind of was egging her on and pushing her on and still guiding her to complete her tasks. It gave me very Palpatine-esque vibes from him, as to like how Palpatine would kind of do the same with like Maul or Anakin in the beginning stages of the apprenticeship. And it was kind of the same way here. Now also at the end, when the Sith arrives, there was literally no other way for the Sith to get there besides it being the Asian dude just using his lightsaber from his bag, getting on his attire and going right, because he was right there. He was so close. And you know who else was super close at the same time? The Asian dude. So I am 100% confident that the Sith is that guide. And honestly, it kind of fits what Sith usually are, like up front when they're trying to get people to join the dark side or recruit people. You never would have suspected it, right? They're like, oh, he was so nice, he helped me out through much, just like any master would with their apprentice. Then they show their dark side, and that's how they continue the corruption. Again, just like Palpatine. And I think that's kind of what they're going for with this, is like the Palpatine vibes, which it's weird because throughout this series, it's like, wow, this is just like what happened in this Star Wars movie. This is just like what happened in this Star Wars show. Wow, this is a cliche trope that happens a lot in movies. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I've seen a lot of movies before I'm noticing these things, but this show is not exactly being super unique. I wouldn't say original, because it's really hard to be 100% original these days, right? But it's not being super unique in terms of Star Wars or just as a sci-fi show in general. And I think that's a little bit of a bummer. Episode 3 aside, it still has the potential to possibly redeem itself. It still has the potential to look and be super cool, because again, the visuals are kind of there. You don't really notice it in this episode very much. Visuals kind of downgrade in this episode, but the potential is there. And it's unfortunate that we're not really seeing it that much. Also, Basil, homie was just there. I'm not sure. He was the tracker, of course, and we learned that later, but he just kind of this there. And I think that was their way of trying to make you love another alien species who's kind of adorable. Didn't work, unfortunately, for me. I was just confused as to why he was there until like 5 minutes after his introduction. They're like, oh, he's the tracker. Okay, that would have been nice to know. And I also wonder, is the Wookiee Master, is he still or was, I suppose, was he still a Jedi Master at the time before his death? Because if so, why the frick was he out there doing non-Jedi stuff? But if he wasn't, I guess that would make sense, but why would they still call him Master? Also, one thing I noticed too is we're finally getting some payoff with those end credit scenes, I guess, that happened in the first 2 episodes, where we saw the Wookiee at the end of episode 2, I believe, scaring off people, which confused me because I was like, what does this have to do with anything? It had nothing to do with anything. And I guess it ties into the fact that we're seeing him in this episode, but he dies without really any interaction. So what was the point of that? You honestly could have taken that end credit scene out from episode 2 and the impact would have been the exact same. It adds literally nothing to the story. And I don't even think end credit scenes shouldn't be that frequent either. Those are something that's supposed to be special. But it was weird. Like, this episode was just kind of weird. I would probably give it like a 4 out of 10. I'd give the episode a 4 out of 10. I'm still leaving the series rating at like a 2. Maybe a 3. I'll boop it up to a little 3 just because the end scene with the Sith. Well, first of all, his reveal kind of sucked. It was just him floating, but it wasn't even like a cool floating. It was like, you can tell they were struggling with the wires and so they had to do it really fast kind of thing. But when he popped up in front of Osha, that was cool. And then when he whipped out his lightsaber and then just pushed all the Jedi away, that was cool. So that's kind of boosting it up a little bit there. But honestly, I'm losing interest even more. This episode didn't exactly help too much, except for the ending. So I'm hoping episode 5 picks it up and gets better. But who knows with the way this show is. I mean, honestly, I think 80% of the people are pretty checked out of the show as of this moment, if they're even still watching it. So we'll just have to see how next week's episode goes. I don't even know how long this season's gonna run. By the way, this was the shortest episode too. It was 35 minutes compared to the rest, which were like 46, 50, 54, that kind of thing. Which is weird how they made this nearly half the first 2 episodes runtime. Please let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of this episode and of the series so far. Although I also feel like it's not gonna go anywhere good. Like, I feel like it's not gonna get any more interesting because the big reveal, quote unquote, is kind of already been there. It's maybe I just figured it out. Well, I could be completely wrong. I'm Captain Zeus, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.